You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
When you bundle your renters and auto insurance with Progressive, you could save money, but it doesn't cover any terrible memories living rent-free in your head.
Remember when one of your best players got injured, but not like on a play or anything? He got injured celebrating a play, and it's not like it was a game-winning play or in the playoffs, and he was out the rest of the season because he was injured while celebrating? Yeah.
Sorry, we can't save you from that memory, but we could save you money bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Renters insurance and bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Who Did What Now, the history podcast that's not your history class, with me, your host, Katie Charlwood, and your co-host,
Baby.
history
Thanks.
and readers of books. Yeah. So, Baby and I, we have been so busy, and someone has been very excited about this week's episode and demanded to be my co-host for it. Yeah. So, what are we going to talk about today?
40 elephants.
40 elephants, who are an all-girl gang crime syndicate in London. It is fantastic because we support women's rights, but more importantly, we support women's...
Wrong.
Yes! Women's wrongs! Good job. We practiced that. Didn't we practice it?
Yeah.
We were so proud. Basic...
Mommy,
Oh, sorry. Okay, you all comfy.
it's to me.
Is that better?
No, tell me better.
There you go. Sorry, I had to turn the microphone so it was facing Baby here. Would you like to be in a girl gang?
Yeah.
A girl gang crime syndicate?
Yeah.
A girl gang crime syndicate in London.
Yeah.
Where's London?
Where Papa lives.
Where? You know what? Kind of. It's kind of where Papa lives.
Yeah, that's where Papa lives.
Well, that's where Papa always sends his postcards from, because that's where he goes on his holidays. You've got
To us.
Yeah, you've got postcards from the Transport Museum and from all of the West Ham football matches he goes to.
No, I didn't sell any of those.
Well, that's why Bubba has all those strips, the football strips.
Mommy.
And you've got one, remember you've got one with your name on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are you all cozy under the covers?
Yeah.
So, my bed is currently covered in what now? What are these?
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs, because Bubba wasn't feeling well, and what happened was, he comes in to me and he goes, "Mummy, don't be mad." And I'm like, "What did you do?" Yeah, obviously. And he's like, "I was sick in your bed." And I'm like, "Alright." And he vomited all over my bed. So I was like, okay, looks like I'm changing the covers. And then he wanted to be in beside me. So now I have dinosaur bedding on my bed. And so will I tell you all about the 40 elephants?
Yeah. But I have to say the 40 elephants.
Okay, so
The 40 elephants.
we're also called the 40 thieves. Now the reason
40
that
elephants.
so the reason they were called 40 elephants was
40 fleas.
because they were from an area in London called Elephant and Castle. Now,
Elephant castle?
Elephant and Castle, yeah, it used to be...
Elephant and castle?
Elephant and Castle, yeah. So it used to be very, I want to say dangerous, because I think even up until the 80s, there was gangs and stuff there. Yeah, it used to be a dangerous place, but now it's pretty affluent because gentrification.
Viva la revolution.
That's right, viva la revolution, baby. As much as I would love a revolution, unfortunately, when things like that happen, it's usually the weakest and the disenfranchised and the impoverished people in society who suffer the most. So we really need to think of a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the fervour in which you are anti-establishment babies. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, quit your jibber-jabber and fact me. In fact you, I will. So, yeah, and it does say 40 elephants. Good job. So, but of course, first we have to get our source on. Okay, so the first thing we have is Alice Diamond and the 40 Elephants by Brian MacDonald. Then, of course, we have articles from The Guardian and Glamour.
There's a fourth one.
There was an Elephant and Castle gang, but it was all men. And unfortunately, originally, the women would be part of, you know, the men's syndicate. They would be working for them and they would do bits and bobs. But, you know, that usually meant they still had lack of agency. But then the women sort of branched out on their own and they became a gang on their own right. I like to see this as a kind of feminist movement. So they were looking after themselves, they were self-sufficient, and as far as we know, the first mention of the gang was in, like, the 1860s. So, like, we're in, like, the Victorian era, and so even though the first, like, official documentation we have of them is, like, the 1860s, it's generally believed that they were in existence from, like, the late 1700s, you know, with, like, the Industrial Revolution and such. Now, do you want to go this side? Okay. So it basically had this, like, alliance with the Elephant and Castle mob, which was, like, men, women, children, you know, sort of everybody they could kind of get their grubby little hands on.
The horses. We couldn't do the 40 elephants.
So the 40 Elephants gang, so they were thieves. And what I don't understand, baby, is that we haven't had a movie about these people.
I did.
You did?
When I was a baby.
When you were a baby, there was a movie about them.
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame because I haven't seen it.
You did.
Did I?
Yes, too. And when you
Oh.
were a baby too.
Baby, are you thinking about Ocean's 8?
Yeah.
Okay. It's an all-girl gang who steal things.
Is that the
But don't
same?
steal things, that's not nice. But there is a special place in my heart for heist movies. I love a good heist movie. So I would love anything to do with this. So, like, I was looking this up, and there's, like, no movies about these people. And there's no...
Yes.
Or, like, there was talks of a movie, and then there was talks of a TV show. Like, I was looking this up, and apparently there was supposed to be a sort of Peaky Blinders-esque show about the 40 Elephants, and it was supposed to be coming into fruition. But that didn't happen. And then there's talks of a movie, but, like, someone get Gemma Arterton on this, because if anybody's going to make this movie, it's going to be her. Get Keira Knightley involved. She loves playing characters that aren't nice housewives. What made the 40 Elephants gang so different than every other gang is that not only was it comprised of women, but its leader was a woman.
Who's the first girl?
Mary Carr, who is a former artist model, she takes the helm. So you've got this time where men are running fucking everything. They've got the social, economic and political structures, but they're also running the underbelly of London. And although women were involved with, like, for example, the Elephant and Castle mob, they were, you know, only used for bits here and there. So even though the 40 Elephants gang existed, it doesn't really, you know, it's very sort of slim pickings, and it exists mainly as an alliance, a side part to the Elephant and Castle mob, you know? But when Mary Carr enters the scene in the late 1800s, that's when they start to get a little bit notorious. Mary Carr, she's born. So Mary Carr, her father is this international thief and forger of bonds. So she grows up surrounded by crime. And lest we forget, this is one of the poorest areas of London. And Mary, like the majority of the members in these gangs, grew up in a life of poverty. And she has a choice. Can she do the regular things? Does she beg? Does she get a menial job in a factory? Does she sell her body on the streets? Mary takes a look at those options and goes, fuck this for a game of soldiers. And by the age of 14, she already has a string of convictions. Because you got to start somewhere, you're going to get caught initially. Like, you know, the 40 elephants are so closely aligned with the Elephant and Castle gang. She ends up becoming the queen. She is the mob queen. Oh, yes. Love it. Mob queens. So she becomes the first queen of the 40 thieves, 40 elephants, because she is so infamous for fencing. So, like, she's very good at selling stolen property. Like, she makes these connections, she's networking, and she's good at organising shit. So, throughout her career, so she continues this career of crime, and she changes her name here and there to, like, Molly Main and Polly Carr, and by 1903, she was known internationally. So, with police reports calling her the notorious Polly Carr, one of the most dangerous women in the London metropolis and Queen of the 40. So she would basically run the gang between, like, prison sentences until her suspected death in 1924. Joining the 40 was aspirational for women of the time because it really broke social status. Because the women who became hoisters, who became thieves, they were going to be able to support themselves. They weren't going to have to rely on men to support them because they were going to be able to have independent wealth. So the women were generally known as hoisters instead of just like thieves or shoplifters because they were seen as professionals. Quite a lot of them just avoided being arrested. They managed to evade capture and they had like a bunch of different aliases. They had fucking options. Also, in addition, furthermore, the women who are joining this gang, who are trying to claim this hoister status, are generally, they're already suffering economic hardship. They're in the fucking guts of London. And nobody gives a flying fuck about them. So yeah, they're gonna do what they need to do.
I will help you.
You are helping. What's that, baby? How many hands does this lady have? Look. 3. So...
How does God have 3 hands?
Well, see, one of them's pretend.
Which one is pretend?
This one here, see? This is the pretend hand. So basically...
How does it get that hand off?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take time and use your hand to your fingers from stops.
That's right.
And sometimes they have a secret bag. It was sewn in a horse garter.
Yeah. So they were able to sort of pilfer things by grabbing it with their hand and popping it in their...
Why does the horse still have the fake hand?
So that's one of the things they would do. See, the good thing about at the time is sort of in this period, like in the sort of still Victorian era, turn of the century. So like initially they would be like stuffing things under their bustles because they were offered more privacy. So shopkeepers wouldn't be looking at them as they were going around.
I mean privacy. He doesn't want anybody when he's peeing. Daddy? Privacy?
Yes. Like that, like not watching people pee, privacy, yes. So, because the women would be in the shop, back in that time, it was sort of rude or not very nice to watch somebody. It was very impolite. It wasn't the done thing in society. So, women were afforded a little bit more privacy, so they weren't being watched, and it made it easier for them to swipe bits and pieces.
What is swipe?
Grab.
Swipe.
To grab it, to kind of take it.
Like
that, exactly, like that. Swiping movement.
If you want something, you can have it. If you tell one one of your parents. Just trying to exercise.
Okay, thank you for doing yoga right now during this recording session. So, it got to the point by the turn of the century that it was said a group of them could effectively strip a store in just an hour. Another thing they did, which was very clever, is because women tend to go unnoticed, especially lower class women. So they would pretend to be a household maid, go into a house and just take the family's valuables. So even though the ladies would shoplift jewels and clothes and furs.
But I look like one like this.
Yeah. But they would never wear any of them because, like, stolen goods, wearing it was it was against the rules. So they followed this thing called the hoisters code, which was like a code of conduct, which is fantastic. So the girls would basically work in packs. So like, I've heard it referred to as like a military operation, like they used battlefield tactics, but the people who say this tend to be men and can't understand that. Clearly you've never seen a woman organise a family planner. Like,
being a part of a royal family might seem enticing, but more often than not, it comes at the expense of everything else, like your freedom, your privacy, and sometimes even your head. Wondery's new podcast, Even the Royals, pulls back the curtain on royal families, past and present, from all over the world, to show you the darker side of what it means to be royalty. From icons like Grace Kelly, Oscar-winning actress turned Princess of Monaco, who the world saw as the ultimate good girl. She mastered playing a happy wife and mother, but beneath it all, she was desperately lonely. Grace spent her whole life working towards perfection, and it ultimately cost her her happiness. Or King Ludwig II from Bavaria. He was only 18 when his father died, leaving the crown to him and a duty to rule that he never wanted. He refused to lead, and used the funds from the royal treasury to further his extreme love of opera. But this choice eventually cost him the crown and his life. Follow Even the Royals on the Wondery app, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge Even the Royals ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
The regular season is heating up. New stars are emerging, and that means more opportunities to win up to 25 times your cash on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection on a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's that easy. Let it fly to turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Watch your favorite players and get paid doing it this basketball season. See your entries make progress during the game or make new entries for the second half and the fourth quarter. 3-pointers, assists, rebounds, and everything in between are yours for the taking. Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Oh, I have seen some ridiculously beautifully organised shit. My wee girl's gone right now. She's not in the room. I've seen some glorious, glorious stuff. But yeah, so I'm not surprised they were well organised. So how they would do it, they would break down into like these groups of 4 or 5, and each of these groups would be given like a patch. They were allocated. So they would cover this for a period of time before moving on to the next one. And they would do reconnaissance. So they would be like watching, the department stores, they would pay attention to like new members of staff coming in or people going on when their breaks would be and what times deliveries came in, so on and so forth, when it was busier, when it was quiet. Like, they took it all down. Because they knew that, people were catching on eventually, instead of going full on Artful Dodger and just like nicking stuff, what they would do is they would use their wee trainees, their wee newbies, as a distraction. They'd be a decoy, misdirection, like Penn and Teller. So I love Penn and Teller, I don't care. Anywho, so basically they'd get the wee newbies to act really fucking suspicious and they'd be like, we need to see this gem in the light of day, and, you know, other shit like that. Just general kind of acting a wee bit dodgy, just enough to distract, like, the clerk or whatever. So they would do this, so the more experienced member could go around and just start filling their pockets. But cleverly enough, they didn't just use the newbies for this. They would use the proper veterans too. Because, like, the veteran thieves, they would be more well known, so shop assistants and security and whatever kind of security they had would be more likely to follow them around, you know, because they're expecting them to, you know, try and nick shit. So while they're being followed around, their lesser known accomplices were able to slip jewels and silks into hidden pockets in their dresses. You know how they say there's no honour amongst thieves? Well, that's bullshit. There's probably no honour amongst, like, competing thieves. But if you're allied, generally it is more of a camaraderie and more of a... And also, you know, snitches get stitches, bitches. So there was a hoisters code. So basically, the rule of thieves. So, like, straight off the bat, you can't fraternise or work with the police, because obviously, because that's a conflict of interest, clearly. Then, of course, you've got, you can't go, like, drinking or partying the night before a big job, because, you know, you gotta keep your wits about you. And you can't wear anything that's hot. Like, you cannot wear any of the stolen, like, jewels or furs or whatever the hell's fuck. They had to be fenced. You could not be having that. So by the turn of the century, the 40 Elephants really reaches its peak, and the leaders are, they are at the height of everything. They're so gorgeous and glamorous. Like, I would love to see, this is, you could make a perfect anthology series about this. No, okay. So yeah, around about 1916, you have Alice Diamond, also known as Diamond Annie, but she had, like, a bunch of aliases as well. She was known as Dolly Blake, Alice Blake, so on and so forth, but she was called Diamond Annie because, one, her real surname was Diamond, and also because she wore a slew of diamond rings on her hands. So when she punched you, you would be embossed with the marks of the gemstones. Also, diamonds are really hard, and I would not suggest being punched with them. It is not pleasant. Don't ask how I know, we're just gonna move on. And it was like the police who named her Diamond Annie because she would get into fights with them. Diamond Annie, she grew up, her parents were criminals, so she too was a criminal because this is just how it works. It's society. Diamond Annie is often referred to as formidable. You see, she was like 5'8", 5'9", and this is at a time where most men were 5'6". So she already had, like, a domineering presence. So when Mary Carr apparently dies in 1924, everyone is quite happy for Annie to take over. And she sort of just adopts the original style. She continues it, but just evolves it, really. So they still have their cells working in different parts of London, creating a sort of network, and it sort of spreads a little bit over Britain, over, like, the rest of Britain as well, but, like, mainly it's concentrated in London because dense population, more shops, more options, so on and so forth. So under the rule of Annie, like, they flourish, they fucking flourish. And, like, for the most part, when any of the thieves were caught, it was only for, like, small thefts, and they served barely any time. And they were sort of tried as, like, this is just a random shoplifter, this isn't, like, a gang. And so their sentences would be, like, pretty short, and they would just be able to, like, get out and they'd just go back to the gang again. Like, this is where it kind of gets glamorous. Well, I say glamorous, like, as glamorous as it can be for inner city London during a horrific period of time. Like one of the reasons why we're so obsessed with the 1920s is because either fucking side of it we have pure horror. Like, that's why the whole concept of this, we just grasp onto it with both hands. But anyway, I digress. Also, in addition, furthermore, Annie decides to step things up a wee bit. So, like, in the sort of flurry of the 1920s, in the roaring 20s, she decides to really use this to their advantage. So by this time, the gangs, like especially the more experienced members, they would be dressing in finery, furs, silks, gowns, jewels, they had it all. And so they decided to use the patriarchy against itself and used blackmail to turn a profit. So they would seduce the higher class men, the upper crust of society, and would use this as a bargaining chip. So they would extort money, they would use it to like avoid convictions, to make evidence go away, and to call in favours whenever they needed them. Because you didn't want to mess with the 40 elephants, because these are hardened women who came from nothing. You do not want to mess with these ladies. Gorgeous, gorgeous girls, do what has to be done. So the 40, they become known for their style, because they're style, they're decadent, they have excess, they're trendy as hell, and they throw the best parties. Okay, that's it. If things go well with this podcast, okay, if things go well with the pod and things really start moving, and COVID is in the bin, who knows when, but when COVID is in the bin, because eventually it's going to be in the bin, it's going to become manageable like the flu. It has to, like, eventually. But I'm going to hold a 40 Thieves party. I'm going to invite 39 people. Going to invite 39 women. No, I might. Well, actually, yeah. I'm going to throw a 40 Thieves party. If things go well, worst case scenario, we'll set up a GoFundMe or something, and we'll book out some weird 1920s style building, and we'll have a fucking party. Yes! Love it. I'm very excited now. I've excited myself. Oh no. Cam. I love thieves and hoisters and heists. I love heists. So basically it's mainly Diamond Annie who really reinforces this hoisters code. She really, really leans into this hoisters code. So there's the stuff I said before about no fraternising with, no working with the police, no drinking before a job, so on and so forth. But also, it outlines how the gang operates as well. So even though Annie is the mob queen, it's really democratic. So there's an equal division of money from the sale of the loot from a heist. They had arranged alibis for each other so that they could, cover each other's tracks. And what the gang would do is if a member was arrested and put in prison or whatever, the gang would support and care for the family members of, the convicted person, of the imprisoned thief. And the guidelines were very strictly enforced because you would be shamed if you broke any of these rules. And not only would you be shamed, you would get the shit kicked out of you. They would beat you up. In this little cluster, you do not want to be the person who fucks up. Absolutely not. So not only this, there was all these other rules. So this is where the honour amongst thieves comes into it. It's you do not shag or steal another member's boyfriend, husband, things like that. And you also do not steal their fucking money. That's not an option. Don't do that. That makes you a dick. Also, in addition, furthermore, the 40 Thieves, they had a group treasury. The treasury, it was kind of like a petty cash, so if someone was in trouble and they needed money quick, they would help them out. But it was also used to, pay for, solicitors and lawyers and stuff. So their legal fees, effectively, would be covered by the gang. Yeah, so Annie also had a way of dealing with, interlopers. So if you were not part of the 40 Thieves gang, and you were on their turf, and you were hoistering, pickpocketing, etc., you had two choices. You would either pay, a fee, you would get, they'd take a cut, right? You could either give them a cut, or they could beat 7 bells of shit out of you. Yeah? Yeah. So this gang were really brutal. They were as brutal as any of the male gangs of the era. But like the newspapers of the time, they just kept pumping out like kind of like fluff pieces. They're like, oh, these bright young things, the gorgeous party girls of the era. Like, it's all that kind of shit. But but I would not want to piss off Diamond Annie or any of those girls. The glamour was like a goal and an illusion. So it was aspirational, but it was also a distraction. So because they were seen as being these beautiful ladies and so fancy, it really helped them, but it also helped distract from the absolute shit they were throwing about. Like how bloody they were. Like how bloody tough and aggressive they were. Like, oh. But because like the press are constantly writing about this gang, the better known of the 40 Elephants, they're recognised, especially within London, so they start expanding outwith. Diamond Annie, she had some control issues. Like, it's good that she kept everything organised, but it got to a point where she was micromanaging everything, and as we know, that is not a good place to be. The thing about the Hoisters Code is, it was basically like my way or the highway when it comes to Annie, and a member married a man that she didn't approve of. In 1925, she leads the gang in this bloody brutal assault against the newlyweds, right? And it basically turns into the Lambeth riot. And because like Diamond Annie instigated this, she ends up in prison for like a year and a half. And by the time she comes out, a new queen's taken over. So Annie's like, right, okay, fine. And she doesn't quite get the heck out of Dodge. She decides to do the most logical step and manages a brothel. So there she is, running this house of ill repute, but she's also teaching aspiring young thieves. So one of the girls who's like under her tutelage, Shirley Pitts, ends up becoming the queen by like the 1960s. But the gang ends up with like a smaller operation that changes different stuff because like fashions are changing and it's more difficult to like hide shit in your dresses when, you know, miniskirts come into fashion. And then of course you've got like surveillance cameras and all that comes into it. Membership for the gang had been sort of declining steadily. So by 1992, when Shirley Pitts dies, the 40 Elephants becomes officially disbanded. And by the time, you know, she does pass, the 40 Elephants gang is treated like a folk legend instead of, you know, what it was, which was an actual threat. So like, well, male gangs would like start and end and grow up and die around them. Like, between Car and Diamond, the 40 Elephants was one of the most successful and longest running criminal syndicates in English history. And that is the story of the 40 Elephants. What did we learn today? We learned that if you want a job done right, get a woman to do it. When society puts up barriers and restrictions on the lower rungs and members of society, sometimes they have no option but to break the rules. If you liked my retelling of this tale of these girl gangsters, feel free to rate and review 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and also you can review on Spotify now, so 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget you can follow me on many of the social medias. On Instagram and TikTok, I am Who Did What Now Pod, and on Twitter, I am Who Did What Now PD, because there wasn't enough characters. And if you're thinking, wow, I want to follow you on social media and interact with you, bring up your engagement, but I also want to like rate and review 5 stars, or maybe you've done that and you're thinking, what can I do? I want to give more. Well, what you can do is go over to patreon.com/whodidwhatnowpod and join one of the tiers and get some fun stuff. Or if you want to do like a one-time donation, you can always go to paypal.com and it's whodidwhatnowpod@gmail.com. So yeah, I really want a 40 Thieves like TV show, because I feel like you could really do a really good anthology, like, and really portray these women well. Give them a fully fleshed out story, make them well-rounded characters, and also feature lots of amazing heists. I love me heists. Love them so much. I want it so much. And now it's time for recommendations. So for reading, I am going to recommend Modern Women on Trial, Sexual Transgression in the Age of the Flapper by Lucy Bland. For watching, I know some of you may have Star Wars fatigue, but it's got Ming-Na Wen in it. What else do you need? And for listening, I've been listening, no, you know what have I been listening to? Okay, I've been listening to the Tick Tick Boom soundtrack. Okay, and now that I've done that, I'm going to bid you farewell. So adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, my friends. Bye-bye.
Bye.